I had my eye on that dealership for years. Not just because of the cars, though I won't lie, I love them. Sleek, powerful, built to turn heads. But it wasn't just about the machines. It was about the way people looked at them. The way they looked at me when I so much as glanced in their direction. That day, I didn't dress to impress. Didn't feel the need to. A plain, well-fitting sweatshirt, dark jeans, and clean shoes. Neat beard, fresh haircut. Just a man stepping into a dealership he'd admired for a long time. As soon as I walked in, though, the air shifted. I felt it. The way you can feel a storm rolling in before the first drop of rain. Conversations dipped into hushed whispers. Eyes flicked in my direction, then away, then back again. Some customers looked curious, others just uncomfortable. The employees? They didn't bother hiding their skepticism. I took my time, walked past the rows of polished vehicles, letting my fingers trail along the cool metal of a midnight blue sports car. Its curves were perfect, the kind of craftsmanship you respected even if you never planned on owning one. A salesman stood nearby, chatting up a couple who didn't look half as interested as I did. I caught his eye, gave him a small nod. He hesitated, shifted on his feet, then turned back to his customers as if he hadn't seen me at all. All right, that's how it was going to be. I kept moving, letting my eyes scan over each car until I found the one that stopped me in my tracks. It sat near the center of the showroom, a statement piece, glossy black, aggressive stance, an engine that probably purred like a beast waiting to be unleashed. Yeah, that was the one. I glanced around for someone, anyone, who might be willing to do their job. That's when I spotted her. Blonde, mid-20s, sharp features. The kind of woman who carried herself like she was in charge, even if she hadn't earned it yet. She had that look on her face, annoyance, like I'd interrupted something more important. I lifted a hand. You the manager? She exhaled through her nose, smoothed her blouse, and walked toward me like she had somewhere better to be. I am. Good, I said, nodding toward the car. Got some questions about this one. She barely looked at it. Her eyes were on me instead, scanning me up and down like she was adding up the price of my clothes, my shoes, my skin. Her lips twitched, just a hint of a smirk. That one's a bit out of budget for most people. I let that sit for a second. Then with a small smile, I said, good thing I'm not most people. Her smirk didn't waver, but something shifted in her eyes, just for a second, like she wasn't sure if I was messing with her, or if I actually believed I could afford it. I tapped the roof of the car, feeling the smooth, cool metal beneath my fingertips. Tell me about it, I said. She sighed, like she'd already decided I was wasting her time. That's our top-of-the-line model. Fully loaded, twin-turbo V8, custom leather interior, performance tires. She rattled off the specs like she was reading a grocery list, not like she actually expected me to care. I did care, but I could tell she didn't think I should. I nodded along. Sounds solid. What's the test drive policy? That was when she lost whatever patience she had left. She laughed, not a real laugh, more like a scoff she didn't bother hiding. A test drive? She repeated it slow, like she needed to make sure I understood the words. I kept my face neutral. Yeah, you do let serious buyers test a car before dropping six figures on it, right? She folded her arms. Sure, with proof of funds. I raised an eyebrow. That's standard for everybody. Her expression didn't change. It is for cars in this price range. I let out a small chuckle. That's so. She didn't answer. Didn't have to. We both knew what this was. I glanced around. A few of the other salespeople had stopped pretending to be busy. They weren't exactly watching, but they were listening. I took my phone out of my pocket and started tapping. What are you doing? She asked, her voice a little sharper now. Looking up your test drive policy, I said casually. Just making sure I'm not misremembering. Her jaw tensed. Sir, I don't think this is the right dealership for you. I let my eyes drift back up to hers. Why is that? She gave me that fake customer service smile, the one people use when they think they're being polite, but really just want you to leave. Because we specialize in high-performance vehicles for serious buyers. If you're actually interested in making a purchase, I'd be happy to discuss financing options, but I held up a hand. Nah, I'm good on that. She exhaled sharply through her nose, like I just confirmed everything she thought about me. Then I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave. We're very busy today. I glanced around the nearly empty showroom. Right, I said, slipping my phone back into my pocket. Super busy. I could see it now, the way she was already preparing to turn her back on me. Dismiss me like I was nothing. Big mistake. Because this wasn't just a test drive. This was her test. And she was failing spectacularly. I didn't move. I didn't argue. I just stood there, watching her, letting the silence stretch between us. She shifted on her feet, tapping her nails against her arm. Sir, she said, her tone clipped now. I don't want to have to call security. I smiled. You should. That threw her off. She blinked. Excuse me. You should call security. I repeated. Go ahead. She hesitated. Maybe for the first time, she wasn't sure what was happening, but her pride wouldn't let her back down. She pulled out her phone and tapped the screen, then put it to her ear. This is Jessica, she said, her eyes still locked on me. I need someone to escort a non-customer off the premises. A pause. Yes, immediately. She hung up and slipped the phone back into her pocket, looking satisfied. I just chuckled. That was quick. Jessica tilted her head. We don't waste time here. Oh, I can tell, I said, glancing at my watch, though I'd say you just wasted quite a bit. Before she could respond, a uniformed security guard stepped through the glass doors. Mid-40s, stocky, built like a guy who used to play football before his knees gave out. His eyes flicked to Jessica first, then to me. What's the problem here? He asked. Jessica gestured toward me. This gentleman was browsing vehicles. But he's not here to buy anything. I've asked him to leave, and he's refusing. The guard frowned, looking me over. I gave him a small nod. She's right about one thing. I said, I was browsing, and I was interested in a car. I looked at Jessica, but now I'm here for something else. Jessica crossed her arms. And what's that? I pulled a neatly folded piece of paper from my back pocket and handed it to the security guard. Go ahead, I said. Read it out loud. He unfolded it, eyes scanning the page. The change in his face was instant. His brows lifted, his jaw tightened just a bit. Then in a steady voice he read, as of this week, ownership of dealership name has officially transferred to my name. Silence. Thick. Heavy. The kind that sucks all the oxygen out of a room. I turned back to Jessica, who hadn't moved, hadn't even blinked. I bought this dealership last week. I said, my voice calm. Figured I'd drop by, see how things were running, meet the staff. I let that sink in. Guess I just did. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Now, I continued, I don't usually make snap decisions, but you made this one real easy. I gestured toward the front doors. You're fired. Jessica flinched. Wait. No waiting. I cut in, voice still smooth. No excuses, no explanations. You judged me the second I walked in. You dismissed me before you even knew my name. I smiled. So now I'm dismissing you. She looked around, eyes darting to security guard, to the other employees who had been listening in. No one spoke. No one stepped in. She swallowed hard. You can't be serious. I raised an eyebrow. Do I look like I'm joking? Jessica's face drained of color. That arrogant smirk? Gone. That fake politeness? Shattered. Now there was only panic. She let out a nervous laugh. The kind people make when they think, hope, that this is all some cruel joke. Okay, look, she started, forcing a smile. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I tilted my head. Oh, enlighten me. She straightened her posture, shifting into damage control. I didn't mean to offend you. I was just trying to follow protocol. We get a lot of people who say they want a test drive, but they aren't actually serious buyers. You have to understand. No, I interrupted. You have to understand. You took one look at me and decided I didn't belong here. You made a judgment based on nothing but your own bias. And you didn't just think it, you acted on it. I gestured around. You laughed at me, mocked me, then tried to have me thrown out. That wasn't protocol, Jessica. That was you. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. I was just trying to do my job. Your job, I repeated, letting the word hang. Then I shook my head. Your job was to treat every customer with respect, to sell cars, but you didn't even try. You assumed I couldn't afford it, so you didn't bother. Tell me, Jessica, if I had walked in here looking different, dressed different, would you have bothered? Silence. That was my answer. I nodded. Exactly. She took a shaky breath. Please, she said, her voice softer now. This job, it's important to me. Really, I said, raising an eyebrow. Because from where I'm standing, you treated it like it was disposable. She shook her head quickly. No, I made a mistake. I'll do better. I can do better. I studied her. She wasn't smirking anymore. No condescension, no arrogance. Now, she was just another person watching their world crumble. I'd seen it before. People who thought they were untouchable, until the ground was ripped out from under them. The security guard cleared his throat. Boss, he said carefully, still holding the paper with my name on it. What do you want me to do? Jessica turned to me, eyes desperate now. Please, she whispered, don't do this. I let the moment stretch, watching her squirm. Then, with a calm voice, I gave my final decision. Escort her out. Jessica's breath hitched. Wait, no, please. The security guard stepped forward, hesitant but firm. Ma'am, I need you to come with me. She whipped around, eyes darting to the other employees, searching for support. But none of them spoke. None of them even met her gaze. She had ruled over them a few minutes ago, full of confidence, full of certainty. Now, she was just another cautionary tale. Her hands trembled as she turned back to me. You can't do this, she tried again, voice cracking. I sighed. Jessica, what exactly do you think is going to happen here? I gestured at the door. You think I'm going to change my mind? You think if you argue long enough, I'll suddenly forget how you treated me? I didn't mean... You meant exactly what you did. I cut in, and now you get to live with it. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. The weight of the moment was finally settling in. The guard placed a hand lightly on her elbow. Ma'am. Jessica yanked her arm away, sucking in a sharp breath like she was trying to keep it together. Then, with as much dignity as she could scrape together, she turned on her heel and stormed toward the door. I watched as she pushed through it, stepping into the harsh daylight. The glass reflected back at her, showing her what everyone else saw, a woman who had just lost everything in the span of a few minutes. The door swung shut behind her with a quiet click. Silence filled the room. Heavy, uncomfortable. Nobody quite knew what to say. I turned back to the showroom. Employees stood frozen in place, pretending to be busy but sneaking glances in my direction. Customers shifted awkwardly, whispering to each other. I clapped my hands together, breaking the tension. All right, I said, scanning the room. Who's actually serious about selling some cars today? A few beats of hesitation. Then, slowly, the atmosphere shifted. A man in his late 40s, balding but well-dressed, stepped forward. Sir, I'd be happy to assist you, he said, voice careful, professional. I nodded. Good. Then let's start over. I pointed at the car I had originally asked about. Tell me about this one. The salesman didn't hesitate. He launched straight into the specs, explaining the details with the enthusiasm of someone who wanted to make a sale. And just like that, business resumed. But one thing was clear. This dealership wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. The salesman, his name was Mark, walked me through every detail of the car. His tone was crisp, professional, but there was something else in his voice now, a carefulness, a respect that hadn't been there when I first walked in. I listened, asked a few questions, let him do his job, and while he talked, I let my eyes drift around the showroom. The energy had shifted. People were still whispering, still stealing glances, but now it wasn't suspicion or amusement in their eyes. It was something else. Realization. Jessica had thought she was untouchable. She'd played judge, jury, and executioner the moment I stepped through the doors, certain that she held all the power. She never even considered that I did. And now everyone in that building had just learned a lesson they wouldn't forget. I ran a hand along the car's sleek body, nodding in approval. "All right," I said, straightening up. "I'll take it." Mark barely blinked. "Fantastic choice, sir." He cleared his throat. "Would you like to discuss financing or—" I gave him a look. "I'm paying in full." He nodded quickly, as if he should have known that already. "Of course. Right this way." I followed him to his desk, pulling out my phone to finalize the payment. As I typed, I could still feel the weight of all those eyes on me, watching, thinking, processing everything they'd just seen. Good, because this wasn't just about a car. It wasn't even about Jessica. It was about something bigger. A reminder that power isn't always loud. It doesn't always come dressed the way you expect. Sometimes it walks in quietly, dressed in plain clothes, asking simple questions. And if you're not careful, it might just be testing you. If this story resonated with you, share it with those who need to hear it. Let's start conversations that matter and that will lead to change. Subscribe to our channel for more stories like this that challenge us, inspire us, and remind us of what we are capable of when we stand up for what is right.